Senator Birmingham.
Thanks, President. My question is to the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Senator Wong. Minister, in the wake of the Hamas terrorist attacks of 7 October, the Labor Party joined with the coalition in a bipartisan motion recognising Israel's inherent right to defend itself. Does the Albanese government still recognise Israel's inherent right to self-defence, whether attacked by Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran or any other sponsor of terrorism?
Thank you, Senator Birmingham. Minister Wong.
Thank you, President. I have, and as has the Labor Party and the Labor government, been very clear about the imperative for the continued existence for the State of Israel and our support for a two-state solution. We've been very clear about that. Every state, including Israel, has a right to defend itself. However, as I have repeatedly made clear, that right is not without limits, and those limits, those rules apply to Israel, to Australia, to all states under international law. I assume that the Leader of the Opposition is making reference to Hezbollah and Lebanon. I would make this point. From the beginning, we have been clear and consistent that we want all parties to exercise restraint. From the beginning, we have been clear and consistent that we do not want to see the conflict spreading to other parts of the region, including Lebanon. If the conflict spreads, it would be devastating for the whole region, for Israel, for Lebanon, for the thousands of Australians in Lebanon, and for the region. We want a ceasefire, protection of civilians, the return of hostages, a diplomatic solution, and we want all parties to exercise restraint.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Birmingham, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. President, I refer the Minister to extraordinary media revelations today that reveal you summoned the Israeli ambassador to Australia to a meeting where, in what appears to be a calculated insult, you then delegated your junior minister to tell him that the Albanese government would not stand with Israel in a conflict with terrorist group Hezbollah. Why have you acted in such an insulting way, and why does the Albanese government continue to turn its back on Israel?
Senator, thank you. Minister Wong.
2 weeks ago, as a result of a series of devastating strikes that caused major civilian casualties, including near refugee camps and aid facilities, and following an escalation in rhetoric and action between Israel and Hezbollah, I instructed the Assistant Foreign Minister to call in the Israeli ambassador. I can confirm the meeting took place, but unlike the Morrison government, we do not leak private conversations, and if others wish to do that, that is a matter for them.
Order.
Our message is the same wherever we go, with everyone and everyone we talk to. Ceasefire, protection of civilians, return of hostages, diplomatic solution. Since the conflict began, as I said, we have called for restraint from all parties. This is what we advocate on behalf of Australia, and when I and my colleagues act and speak, we do so on behalf of the country, not for any other country. We act and speak on behalf of Australia, and I think Australians want peace, not more conflict and not more civilian deaths.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Birmingham, second supplementary.
President, I seek leave to move a motion relating to Israel's inherent right to self-defence, whether attacked by Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran or any other sponsor of terrorism.
Is leave granted? The government hasn't seen the motion. Senator Birmingham. I'm in the hands of the Senate. Senator Birmingham. Order. 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 Leave has not been denied. I understand that the government hasn't seen the motion. I'm moving to the second are you seeking Well, the leave isn't granted, so I'm just looking at you, Senator Birmingham, to see if you're suspending or you.
Leave is not granted, President, noting that the motion has been suspended.
Order.
Pursuant to contingent notice standing in my name, I move that so much of the standing orders be suspended as would prevent me moving a motion to provide for the consideration of a matter, namely a motion to give precedence to a motion relating to Israel's inherent right to self-defence. A motion, indeed, President, that gives the Senate the opportunity to reaffirm Israel's inherent right to self-defence, whether attacked by Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran or any other sponsor of terrorism. President, I bring this motion because it is important for the Senate to make clear its position again. If we go back, President, we can go back to the bipartisan motion passed by this parliament on the 16th of October, a bipartisan motion in which the parliament was clear, through the Labor Party and the Liberal Party and the National Party and independents, not the Australian Greens, I note, but was clear that Israel has an inherent right to self-defence. That inherent right to self-defence was not qualified that it only related to attacks from Hamas, but indeed, like any sovereign nation, particularly like any democratic friend and partner of ours, should be respected as a right to self-defence whenever under attack from any terrorist organisation or any other nation. Whether it's Hamas, whether it's Hezbollah, whether it's Iran, the same principles should apply in the right to self-defence. And we bring this forward because of the extraordinary reports, President, that suggest the Albanese government has changed its position, has walked away from a clear-cut support of Israel's right to self-defence and qualified that in relation to attacks from Hezbollah. Let us remember, President, that this is the Labor Party who went to the last election promising Australia's Jewish communities, promising Australians, promising partners around the world that there was no division between the major parties in relation to Australia's support for Israel, and that it was not conditional upon who won the election. That is what this government said, and yet time and again since, they have been seen to change Australia's position. They have changed Australia's long-standing bipartisan position in relation to recognition of Palestinian statehood, a position that had previously been clear of support for a two-state solution that should only occur as part of a final settlement of a two-state solution in which each state lives in peace and security within internationally recognised borders. They have changed Australia's position in voting at the United Nations, voting explicitly for a UN motion recognising a state of Palestine and calling it to be admitted as a member of the UN, in direct contradiction to the long-standing bipartisan position of Australia. They've unilaterally changed Australia's position in numerous ways and numerous UN votes over the 2 years in office. But then, remarkably, these acts have continued and indeed escalated in pace since October 7. Let us never forget October 7 saw the single largest murdering and slaughtering of Jews in the world on a single day since the Holocaust. And it has been a tragedy. It was a tragedy then, and it's been a tragedy every day since then, the deaths that have occurred. Innocent deaths, innocent lives, innocent Jewish citizens, innocent Israeli citizens and innocent Palestinians who are used and abused by Hamas as human shields, who hide amongst them, who hide hostages amongst them, who hide weapons amongst them, who hide terrorist capabilities amongst them. And Hezbollah are no better. Hezbollah act in defiance and objection of international agreements in relation to keeping their distance from the Israeli border, from northern Israel. Hezbollah continually fire rockets into Israel intended to kill Israelis, and they have driven tens of thousands from their homes through the use of those rockets. And that is why it matters to be clear and consistent about Israel's inherent right to self-defence. If this were Australia, there would be no tolerance of terrorist organisations like Hamas or Hezbollah attacking our territory, attacking our people, threatening the lives of Australians and driving them from their homes. And nor should there be any tolerance of it when it comes to Israel and their rights, and that is why we stand clear and invite the Labor Party to hold up its position as previously articulated.
Thank you, Senator Birmingham. Minister Wong.
Thank you, President. I think we all understand why Senator Birmingham is doing this. In order to ensure that this is not a domestic political fight. We stand for both Israel and Palestine. We believe in a two-state solution, and we do not believe that the sort of domestic politics that you are playing is any better than the sort of domestic politics we've seen from the Australian Greens.
Order.
I seek leave to move an amendment to the motion, add the words "and the recognition of the State of Palestine as part of a peace process in support of a two-state solution and a just and enduring peace." A just and enduring peace. Yes, we do affirm, as I have previously, that all states, including the State of Israel, have an inherent right to self-defence.
Senator Wong, I just remind you you'll be foreshadowing the motion.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. We do believe that. I have also said from the start that right is not absolute. Every state has limitations on that right as expressed in international law. Even in war there are rules. That is a principled position.
Order.
No. I will take that interjection. We are democracies. We are democracies.
Order.
Israel is a democracy,
Wong,
and we hold ourselves to higher standards than do terrorist entities.
Minister Wong. I remind the chamber just a few minutes ago I had to stand to get order in this place. I have never had to do that again. And Senator McKenzie, it is partly because of your constant rude and disrespectful interjections. When Senator Birmingham was on his feet, the chamber listened in respectful silence. And the minute Senator Wong got to her feet, suddenly there were lots of interjections, primarily from you. You will listen in silence, or you can choose to leave the chamber. Minister Wong, please continue.
We should be unashamedly working for peace, not working for domestic political advantage or tactical advantage in the chamber or putting pressure on one or other side. We have 40,000 people who have lost their lives in this conflict. We have seen the greatest loss of Jewish lives since the Holocaust. And there are people in this chamber who want to play domestic politics with it. I think it is abominable. I really do. And I think Australians out there want us to work for peace. Now, we may have different views about where moral weight lies. There are different views in this chamber. But what I would say to you is we should all be advocating for peace, and that requires a two-state solution. That is what it requires. There is no peace without progress on two states. There is no peace without progress on two states. That is, I think, demonstrably true, given what we have seen over decades and what we see now. And this is the same message. What I say here, I say to every party with whom I deal. I don't have one message for one group and another message for another. So I would hope that this Senate could show some maturity. There are people who have different views. We have heard them in the chamber. We have seen them in the chamber. I think I speak, when I seek to speak, I speak on behalf of Australia, not on behalf of any country or group. That is what I seek to do, and that is what my colleagues seek to do. We should be arguing for ceasefire, for the return of hostages. We should be arguing always for international law to be observed. We should be arguing for de-escalation. We should not be seeking to escalate the conflict overseas or here by our rhetoric and by our action. and too many in this place have been seeking to do that. So I foreshadow that I will move an amendment, and I indicate that the government will support the suspension to enable this matter to be voted on, and I now move that the motion be put.
So the question is that the question be put. Those of that opinion say aye. Against? I believe the ayes have it. So the question is that the suspension motion is moved by Senator Birmingham be agreed to. Those of that opinion say aye. Against? I believe the ayes have it. Division required. Division required. I am going to put that again because it has been drawn to my attention and I should have seen that. You need to be in your chairs. So the question is that the suspension motion, as moved by Senator Birmingham, be agreed to. Those of that opinion say aye. Against? I believe the ayes have it. Division required. Ring the bells for 4 minutes. Lock the doors. So the question is that the suspension as moved by Senator Birmingham be agreed to. The ayes shall move to the right of the chair, the noes to the left. I appoint Senator Urquhart as teller for the ayes and Senator McKim as teller for the noes. Order. There being 42. I've got a. Do you want to recount? I understand that there are 43 ayes and 10 noes, and the matter is resolved in the affirmative. Senator Birmingham.
Thank you, President. Now that standing orders have been suspended, I move that a motion to reaffirm Israel's inherent right to self-defence have precedence over other business.
Thank you. And this is a motion that was circulated earlier. Thank you. So the question is, the motion is moved by Senator Birmingham be agreed to. Those of that opinion say aye. Aye. Against? It's a precedence motion. Beg your pardon. It's a precedence motion. Be agreed to. Those of that opinion say aye. Aye. Against? I believe the ayes have it. Senator Birmingham.
Thank you, President. I move the motion, and I restate for the Senate the motion that the Senate reaffirms Israel's inherent right to self-defence, whether attacked by Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran or any other sponsor of terrorism. And President, I welcome the fact that the Senate has agreed to give precedence to this motion and the opportunity for this matter to be considered by the Senate, because in doing so it provides the Labor Party, crossbench senators and the entire Senate with an opportunity, President, to be clear, concise and principled in standing with Israel and in restating Israel's inherent right to self-defence. As I said in the suspension debate, that right to self-defence should not be qualified by who the attacker is. We would not, and nor would any other country, tolerate being attacked by any terrorist organisation in the ways that Israel is attacked by terrorist organisations. We are all too sadly aware of what occurred on October 7, with the largest slaughter of Jews on a single day since the Holocaust, where women and babies were murdered and raped, where young people at a music festival were slaughtered in the early hours of the morning. Those horrific incidents sit in the history books and will forevermore. We're all sadly aware of the tragic loss of life that has continued to ensue since then. The hostages who Hamas held and who have died in captivity. And, of course, the thousands of Palestinians living in Gaza who have died as a result of this war, as a result of Hamas initiating this war and as a result of Hamas hiding amongst them, behind them, underneath them, in the most reprehensible of ways, where terrorist infrastructure and capabilities have been established at the expense of the Palestinian people. We are all too aware that Hamas has a tunnel network estimated to go some 6 stories deep, bigger than the New York subway system, and that is what Israel has been seeking to destroy, those terrorist capabilities and infrastructure that has left Palestinian peoples so exposed during the course of this war. What perhaps has not been so clear to all in the media coverage is that during the conduct of this war, since October 7, time and again, Israel has continued to be attacked. Rockets have been launched at Israel, some from within Gaza by Hamas, many from southern Lebanon by Hezbollah, and of course, infamously, even from Iran. Israel has an inherent right as a sovereign nation, as a democratic nation, to defend itself against these attacks. Now, President, we bring forward this motion today because of deeply concerning and troubling reports of the position taken by the Albanese government. These reports suggest that the Albanese government has told the Israeli ambassador to Australia that they would not stand with Israel were it to respond to Hezbollah's attacks. And these are troubling, concerning reports of a further weakening by the Albanese government of its position in relation to Israel's right to self-defence. So we bring this forward to be clear and to be consistent with statements made in this chamber before, consistent with motions passed in this chamber before, consistent with the position not just of ourselves as the Liberal and National parties, but consistent with the position that was the position of the Australian Labor Party. And consistency is something that has sadly gone missing through this debate. During the months since October 7, we have seen the Labor Party change the position of the Australian government in relation to a two-state solution. We have long been clear and bipartisan in this nation about the need for a two-state solution, the desire to see a peaceful outcome in the Middle East, where Israelis and Palestinians do get to live in peace in future, is a shared one. How that is achieved does also matter. And I note, Deputy President, the amendment foreshadowed by Senator Wong. I would say several things in relation to this amendment. Firstly, it is not necessary and should not be necessary to qualify the motion that we have moved.
That's right.
The motion that we have moved is clear in relation to Israel's inherent right to self-defence. It does not seek to reflect upon the pathway to a two-state solution. But we continue to support a two-state solution and have been clear about that. Deputy President, we do not support a two-state solution approach as the Albanese government has unilaterally changed Australia's position to be, one that sees a potential premature recognition of a state of Palestine before the difficult issues have been addressed. And I foreshadow that the opposition will move to amend Senator Wong's amendment consistent with the approach that we took last week and consistent with the approach that we have held to, not just since October 7, not just since the last election, but consistent with the approach that has been held to for many, many years. We will move to amend that by being clear that there are preconditions for recognition of a state of Palestine as part of a two-state solution, and that recognition must come with an acknowledgement by Palestinian representatives and the Palestinian Authority of Israel's right to exist, the most fundamental necessity for a two-state solution to be lasting and peaceful. We will move to add the precondition that there is no role for Hamas in a future Palestinian state. Again, something that the Parliament stated clearly, the Minister has said clearly, and that we must be clear about when speaking of a two-state solution. Again, the precondition that the Palestinian Authority is reformed, including major security and governance reforms. Once again, statements that the government has made. There should be no problem if they wish to move their amendment to support these preconditions of a two-state solution, these preconditions of the recognition of Palestine, because they are indeed things the government says that it supports. Critically, though, Deputy President, it must also include resolution of final status issues, including agreed state borders and rights of return, as well as appropriate security guarantees between the parties to ensure peace and security within recognised borders. If a two-state solution is to be achieved and to be upheld and to provide for a peaceful coexistence of Israeli and Palestinian peoples in the future, then the difficult questions that have blocked the path to peace until now must be addressed. And those difficult questions, in terms of agreement on borders, rights of return, security guarantees, are necessary preconditions for peace to occur. Deputy President, as we have been clear, there have been many points of concern about the Albanese government's response to policy in relation to Israel since the last election. We saw immediately after the election the government change Australia's votes in relation to human rights motions and investigations. We've seen the government change Australia's position in relation to recognition of Jerusalem. We've seen the government change Australia's position in relation to language around Palestinian territories and Israeli settlements. There has been change after change after change, and these all predated what occurred in relation to the October 7 terrorist attacks. Saw the government double Australian taxpayer funding to the UN Relief and Works Agency, an agency where, in the doubling of that funding, it subsequently was accused and had to sack staff for being involved in the 7 October attacks, and has been found by the UN to be in breach of neutrality principles. These breaches, again and again, before we even get to the shifts that have occurred since October 7, are a clear contradiction of the commitments the Albanese government gave prior to the last election. They promised that there would be no division, and there was no division between the major parties in relation to Australia's support for Israel, that it was not conditional upon who won the election. They promised Australia's Jewish community that they should feel confident and proud that whoever, and irrespective of whoever, forms government, it will be one that is committed to safeguarding the interests of that community, including those interests in relation to the State of Israel. And yet the government, having made those promises, then broke them time and again in the lead-up to October 7. But most distressingly, the government has continued to break them since October 7. On the 16th of October, we stood solemnly in this chamber in a bipartisan way, as they did in the other place too, and made clear a statement of principles condemning those attacks, and made clear our support for the State of Israel and in defence of its right to self-defence. And we on this side have been consistent in standing by that motion and our principles ever since, even as the Albanese government has changed Australia's position at the UN, voted for ceasefire motions that overlooked the need for hostages to be released, voted for recognition of Palestine that changed the long-standing bipartisan consensus, and now, as it is reported, has told the Israeli ambassador that Australia's support cannot be relied upon in relation to the defence of the State of Israel from terrorist attacks by Hezbollah. And how was that message delivered? Well, it appears to have been delivered in the most insulting way possible. That the Foreign Minister and her junior minister or department sought to summons the Israeli ambassador to Australia. But was the message then delivered by the minister herself? No. It was delivered by her junior minister, as she acknowledged during question time. Why, on such a grave matter, on such a significant matter, would such a message that we do not agree with, but would such a message of such significance be delegated to an assistant minister to give? Why would that happen unless it was intended to be an insulting gesture as well as a grievously wrong message to send? The Deputy President, we would urge the government to accept the purity of the motion before us, the simplicity and consistency that comes with reaffirming Israel's inherent right to self-defence. We'd urge the government to take that opportunity, if there is misunderstanding from media reports, to clear it up by supporting this motion. But if the government insists upon its amendment, then we have been clear in terms of the approach of the coalition, consistent with the approach taken in the House of Representatives, consistent with the approach taken in this place last week, and consistent with our approach throughout the years, unlike the inconsistency of those opposite.
Minister.
Thank you. First, there are assertions made by the Shadow Minister which are incorrect. I again say that the discussion between the Assistant Foreign Minister and the Israeli Ambassador at my instruction did occur after a series of devastating strikes that caused major civilian casualties, including near refugee camps and aid facilities, and followed an escalation in rhetoric and action between Israel and Hezbollah. The assertions that the Shadow Foreign Minister has made about what was said in that meeting are not correct, and whilst others may wish to make these discussions public, that's a matter for them. We have not. What I would say to you is what we say in the room is the same as that which we say outside, and that is we do not want to see the conflict spreading to other parts of the region, including Lebanon. If this conflict spreads through the region, it will be devastating for thousands and thousands and thousands of civilians in Israel, in Lebanon, as well as in the West Bank and Gaza, and for the thousands of Australians who are in Lebanon and the region. And the Senator and his party may think that it is a responsible thing to do to champion more conflict. We do not think so. We think the responsible thing to do is to champion peace. The other point I would make is that I and the others on this side, we act and speak on behalf of Australia and not for any other country. Australians, as I said, want peace, not more conflict and not more civilian deaths. What we see in this debate, and it it's been going on for a while, is a desire from the Greens and from Senator Henderson and others on that side for absolutism. That's what they want, absolutism. And absolutism in politics and in conflict leads to more conflict. I'll take that interjection. We have to pick a side. You have to pick a side. I mean, that says everything you want to know about what the coalition is seeking to do, and if I may say, what the Greens. You want this to be about sides, not about peace. It's a game, isn't it? It's about game. It's a game to you. You know, it is a game to you. No one here supports Hezbollah or Hamas. They are terrorist organisations.
Senator Birmingham was heard in silence. It's a difficult issue. I ask the Minister to be heard in silence. Minister.
I'll take the interjection. You have to pick a side. That says something, doesn't it? No, it's disgraceful. Well, I am on the side of peace and a two-state solution that delivers peace and stability to the region, to Palestinians and Israelis alike. Right? The absolutism, on the one hand, from those opposite, justifies. The absolutism from those opposite places no limit on civilian deaths. The absolutism from the Greens justifies the defacing of Mr Burns' office. That's where absolutism takes us. Well, we on this side, we are for peace. We're not politics. We are for unity, not division. And we are certainly— I will take that interjection. The assertion that we stand with terrorists is a lie. You should withdraw it. And it demonstrates the disgraceful domestic politics that you are seeking to play with this. You are a disgrace.
Senator Henderson, point of order.
Personal reflection. Point of order. The minister should immediately withdraw the reflection that she made on me. I made a comment, we do not stand with terrorists. That does not say anything other than our position. And she should withdraw it.
I just asked you to withdraw that the member lied.
I heard you stand with terrorists. That's what I heard. If it was not the case, Would you mind?
It's not a debate,
I'm
Senator Henderson.
responding.
Allow the minister to respond.
I withdraw. No one stands with terrorists in this place. No one does. No one does. Absolutism.
Senator Henderson, is this a point of order?
Just to clarify, the comment I made was we do not stand with terrorists. I did not. Senator Wong misheard me, and on that basis, I would just ask her to withdraw the comment that she made.
The minister has withdrawn. Please continue, Minister.
Senator Henderson is so keen to have a political fight on this, a catastrophic conflict. She doesn't even listen. Does not even listen. Can everyone on that side stop playing domestic politics with this war? I think Australians want that. They don't want the conflict brought here. They don't want the conflict brought here by you or by the Greens or by the sorts of violent protests we have seen. They do not want that. The amendment I will move adds, and I'll read this, and people can tell me which bit of this they disagree with, notes that it is not in the interests of Israelis, Palestinians— I should make clear, after the motion moved by Senator Birmingham, add the following. Notes that it is not in the interests of Israelis, Palestinians or any others in the Middle East to see the conflict broaden. Calls on all parties to exercise restraint. Supports efforts to press all parties to the conflict in Gaza to agree the ceasefire proposal. Endorses the government's position to support recognition of the State of Palestine as part of a peace process in support of a two-state solution and a just and enduring peace. I think that actually represents where the majority of Australians are. It represents what people are seeking. The problem is this will probably be voted down because the Greens cannot bear to vote for something that says two states, and those opposite cannot bear to vote for something that says recognition. That is the absolutism on display here today and constantly in this debate. It is irresponsible and it is wrong. The only party that is demonstrating consistency and maturity on this is the Australian Labor Party. And I appreciate that at times it is hard because it is easy to be absolutist. It is easy to speak to people's fear. It is easy to promote division, but that is not Labor's way, and we will not do that. So I move the amendment, and I now move that the motion be now put.
Senator Birmingham.
Point of order, Deputy President. I had foreshadowed an amendment to the government amendment. Can I just seek clarity as to whether the minister's motion will prevent such an amendment being moved?
Subject to just consulting the clerk, I would think that I would put the question on the amendment, and then that would enable you then to move an amendment to that amendment, subject to the will of the chamber. But I'll just clarify that. That's correct. So you're not prevented. We're just going to have a vote immediately on this amendment to your original motion. No.
On clarity on the point of order, Deputy President, our amendment is to the government's amendment.
Yeah. So the question, it will be up to the Senate to decide whether the question is put. If the Senate decides that the question will be put, then you will be denied the opportunity to put a further amendment. Does anyone else seek further clarity before I put the question? So I'm going to put a question, that the question be put, and that is on the amendment moved to Senator Birmingham's motion, which has been moved by Senator Wong. So there will be now. So I'm going to put the question, that the question be put, and then, depending on what occurs, the will of the Senate, if that gets up, then I will immediately put the question, which has been of the motion which was moved by Senator Wong, that the original motion moved by Senator Birmingham be amended in the terms that Senator Wong has put to the chamber. So I put the question that the question be put. Those for the question say aye. Aye. Against, no. No. I think the ayes have it. Division required. Ring the bells.
Lock the doors. So the question is that the closure motion is moved by Senator Wong be agreed to. The ayes shall move to the right of the chair, the noes to the left. I appoint Senator Urquhart as teller for the ayes and Senator Cadell as teller for the noes. Order. There being 28 ayes and 28 noes, the matter is negated. Now put as we have not closed the debate continues. So I'm Senator Birmingham.
Thank you, President. President, I move the amendment to the government amendment as foreshadowed in my speech and circulated in the chamber.
So the question is that the motion, the amendment as moved by Senator Birmingham be agreed to. Those of that opinion say aye. Aye. Against? I believe the ayes have it. Noes have it. Division required. Ring the bells for 1 minute. I don't think. 4. Thanks. Senator Cadell is seeking the call, so I'm going to give him the call. Senator Cadell.
President, in that last vote, there was a miscount. Someone who was paired came in and voted. Can we recommit that last vote? Thank you.
Yes, certainly. So I think because there's been a bit of confusion. We'll let the bells ring until they're done, and then I will recommit that previous vote, which is Senator Wong's amendment. No, motion, beg your pardon. I will explain further when we lock the doors. I'm just letting the bells ring. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm letting the bell, because I think. Do you want them? Lock the doors. So whilst the bells were ringing, Senator Cadell stood and said that inadvertently someone in that first division, which was the closure motion moved by Senator Wong, someone who was paired came in and was accidentally counted. So we are now recommitting the closure motion as moved by Senator Wong. I let the bells continue because it wasn't clear who'd left or remained in the chamber. It seemed the right thing to do. So the question is that the closure motion as moved by Senator Wong be agreed to. Those of that opinion say aye. Aye. Against? Division required? Ring the bells for 1 minute. Ring the bells for 4 minutes. Lock the doors. So the question is that the closure motion is moved by Senator Wong be agreed to. The ayes shall move to the right of the chair, the noes to the left. I appoint Senator Urquhart as teller for the ayes and Senator Cadell as teller for the noes. Order. There being 28 ayes and 28 noes, the matter is resolved in the negative. So now. Yes, so you're moving your amendment, Senator Birmingham.
President. Yep. So it was 28-28 and the matter was negated. Senator Birmingham. President, thank you. President, as per before, I move again the amendment to the government amendment as circulated in the chamber and as foreshadowed in my remarks.
Senator Wong.
If I may, point of order, and on the correct, on the last vote, it was tied, and there was an if I may, there was an incorrect count on the opposition side.
Yes.
We now have an additional senator, Senator Lambie and Senator Pocock. It cannot be, therefore, that the vote is again tied, unless I have someone else has left. That's not arithmetically possible.
Senator Wong, I was in the hands of the tellers. They both checked their numbers. I would suggest, I'm in the hands of the chamber, but I would suggest that we give the tellers, Senator Urquhart and Senator Cadell, a moment to just check their pairing sheets. Senator McKim.
Well, in concurrence with that, President, I just wish to make a short contribution to the question before the chair, which might assist in allowing the tellers to consult over the matter that Senator Wong has raised. But I want to take this opportunity.
Sorry.
Do I have the call? President? Thank you.
Yeah.
As we always do, the Australian Greens call for peace, and we call for all parties to exercise restraint. There is the horrific potential.
Senator McKim, I thought you were assisting us resolve the matter.
I was.
Well, you're not, because you're going into debate. Senator Urquhart is now, I think, going to explain what happened. So, Senator Urquhart.
So, thank you, President. And it was my error. I had Senator Wong in, but she was out and she wasn't on my pair sheet. So I would therefore ask that the vote be recommitted.
Senator Urquhart has asked that the vote be recommitted. It is the usual business of the Senate. It is the convention that votes are recommitted. So I'm looking for her ability to recommit. Thank you. We're going to put order. I'm going to put the closure motion. So the question is that the closure motion, as moved by Senator Wong, be agreed to. Those of that opinion say aye. Against? Is a division required? 1 minute. Order. Order. I've called it for the ayes. So a division is required. We'll ring the bells for 1 minute. Lock the doors. So the question is that the closure motion, as moved by Senator Wong, be agreed to. The ayes shall move to the right of the chair, the noes to the left. I appoint Senator Urquhart as teller for the ayes and Senator Cadell as teller for the noes. Order. There being 30 ayes and 28 noes, the matter is resolved in the affirmative. I now intend to put Senator Wong's amendment. So the question is that the amendment, as moved by Senator Wong, be agreed to. Those of that opinion say aye. Aye. Against? I believe the ayes have it. Division required. Ring the bells for 1 minute. Lock the doors. So the question is, the amendment as moved by Senator Wong be agreed to. The ayes shall move to the right of the chair, the noes to the left. I appoint Senator Urquhart as teller for the ayes and Senator Cadell as teller for the noes. Order. There being 18 ayes and 38 noes, the matter is resolved in the negative. I'm now going to move Senator Birmingham's motion. So the question is, Senator McKim.
Thank you, President. As we always do, the Australian Greens call for peace and call for all parties to exercise restraint.
Just a moment, Senator McKim.
There's no gag motion.
Senator McKim, I've got Senator Birmingham on a point of order.
President, the question had been put by Senator Wong.
Correct.
Senator Birmingham, Senator McKim is in order because the debate has not been closed. Senator McKim.
Thank you, President. As we always do, the Australian Greens call for peace and for all parties to exercise restraint. There is the horrific potential that the State of Israel is about to launch an invasion of Lebanon. If this happens, it will be a humanitarian disaster for the people of Lebanon, just as the war in Gaza has been a humanitarian disaster for the people of Gaza. Just as happened last time this parliament voted to give the State of Israel political cover for its invasion of Gaza, the opposition is now seeking the same for the potential invasion of Lebanon. The Australian Greens will not be a party to this.
Thank you, Senator McKim. The question before the chair is Senator Birmingham's motion. Sorry, I've only just got here, and I'll put the question. All those in favour, aye? Aye. Against? The ayes have it. Division required? No, the ayes have it. Well, so I've just put Senator Birmingham's motion. All in favour? Against? The ayes have it. The ayes have it. Right. Okay. So, I'll just wait for senators to leave the chamber. Sorry, Senator Wong.
I have to say this. Thank you. Thank you, Acting Deputy President. Unless Senator Birmingham strongly desires us to continue with question time, I would ask that further questions be placed on notice.
Thank you, Senator Wong.